So, all right, what we thought we'd do, I'm going to need some notes here. So we're going to talk briefly about bedspreads and coverlets. So we've had a few questions that probably frequently asked questions that we want to sort of answer. And so I'm going to just sort of go through those. So yep. the first question that is often asked is, and we've sort of addressed it already anyway, does anyone use a bedspread anymore? And well, the question to that is they do, but they're not as popular. Like we sort of mentioned that maybe the older generation, I know I grew up with one, and so it's probably not as popular now as what it used to be. They are popular in hotels. Probably most hotels have got bedspreads on the beds. So they're definitely used. So to answer that question, they're really good for summer. They're a bit of an advantage there is they're good for summer because they're quilted, but they're not as thick as like a quilt in a quilt cover. So they're really good for summer months, for the warmer months. But it's also good. Bedspreads and coverlets are really good if you don't like struggling with putting a doona or a quilt inside a quilt cover. That's as opposed to a quilt cover setup. The bedspreads are really easy because it's all the quilting is, even though it's smaller, it's less, but it's just built in. It's easier. One piece sort of does the job, and you're not having to try and keep the doona in the corners of the quilt cover and the doona cover itself. So yeah, so people do use bedspreads. It's just not so popular anymore. Another thing is should a bedspread touch the floor? So another question is, should bedspreads touch the floor? Now, bedspreads are designed to touch the floor, but there's a bit of conjecture, a bit of a problem around all of that. Firstly, it's up to personal preference. Some people may not want it to touch the floor. They might want it to sit up the side of the bed a little bit. So that's one aspect. Another thing is you might think it's going to touch the floor, but according to it depends on your bed height or your mattress height. That will have a big impact on whether it actually reaches the floor. So I suppose what I'm saying is that it's not as simple as choosing like a queen cover for a queen bed. It may not touch the floor and be like, I suppose, a true bedspread. Bedspreads are designed to touch the floor, but it may not actually work because of the heights of the bed and the mattress. So you've got to do a bit of a measurement, particularly if you want it to hit the floor. Now, you might want it to hit the floor, particularly because you're hiding some stuff under the bed. You might want to keep it nice and neat because the bedspread is basically an all bed cover. It covers right. It is meant to sort of cover right down to the floor. It covers stuff under the bed, and but a coverlet, on the other hand, is more for for just the top of the bed. It's a little bit more like a quilt cover, I suppose, where it doesn't come all the way to the floor, but you've got choice there as well. So it depends on what size you get. So once again, you've got to do the measurements even for the coverlets.
Yep.
The third question is, can you still buy bedspreads? Are they available? Well, the answer is yes, we've got one here, but because we stock them, but they're probably a little bit harder to find in like in the retail, in the bricks and mortar stores. They're probably a little bit less popular there, but online, especially at My Linen, we've got a whole big massive range. We've got all the sizes, bedspreads and coverlets, and the sizes are a bit interesting, so I'll explain them a little bit too. You've got, with the bedspread range, you've got single, king, single, double, queen, king, and super king. So you've got the sizes that suit the bed. But then with coverlets, we've got a range that do suit the bed, like they're called coverlets, and they're single, king, single, double. But then there's also a range of coverlets that are one size suits multiple beds. So you've got the single/double coverlet, and that will fit on a single bed, a king single bed, and a double bed. Then you've got the queen/king coverlet that will fit a queen and king bed. But then you've got the super king sort of on its own, is just a super king size. But so if you take the queen king one, for example, if you put that on a queen bed, it's going to hang. I'm sort of stating the obvious, but if you put a queen king on a queen bed, it's going to hang fairly low. But if you put that same one on a king bed, it won't hang quite as low. It'll hang a little bit further up because it's one size fits 2 beds. So, so that's basically the story on the sizing of bedspreads and coverlets. And that we've also got on our range, we've got a whole bunch of colours. We've got all the blacks and the greys and the monochromes, and we've got the taupes, linen, creamy colours, and there's purples, yellows, all sorts of different colours, and there's even multicolour. We've got multicolours. There's even patterned, different patterns, different patterns and textures. There's the sort of the more formal one, these damask kind of patterns. There's florals and geometric, and there's the textured ones too, like the chenille. I'm pretty sure we've got some chenille ones in there as well. And yeah, so we've got a whole massive range, massive size, colours, and everything in there, covering off the bedspreads and coverlets. So to answer the question on can you buy them, well, you absolutely can. You can get them at My Linen. So that's our little thing on bedspreads and coverlets.
And another thing, you don't trip over them.
Yeah, it's also good when you've got, this one here is a good example of the corners. Some bedspreads, they're very hard to find now. I don't even know if we've got any on our range, but some of them have this sort of tailored so that there's nothing on the floor. They're actually designed, I think, for poster beds where they've got the posts, but you can use it without the poster bed, but they're really tailored, nice and square fitting, so then you're not tripping over them. So that's the problem with having it go down to the floor on the sides, like we've got on this bed here. It does have the corners to deal with, which you can trip over, especially in the middle of the night. So you just got to be mindful of that when you're deciding the height that you want, because the higher you come up here, the less corner stuff you're going to have. So
yeah,
anyway, hope that helps.
Yeah,
actually, if you've
yeah, so
Josh is probably going to say there's questions. If you've got any questions, ask.
Yeah.
So,
we did have Leanne say that sometimes that overhang and onto the floor can be dangerous for tripping, which, yeah, I said I agree, and that if you want the oversized look, we'd recommend that you go with that designer look only if you want it. Otherwise, like, just be safe.
Be safe, yeah.
You don't need to have it on the floor to make it look good. You can still style it up and do all that on top of the bed. You don't necessarily need to have it onto the floor. Yeah,
you just might have to have it up and have and if you want to still cover to the floor, have a valance or something, but they don't also necessarily work on all beds, the valance. So.
Yeah, and then we did have a question from Leanne who said, what is the difference between coverlets and bedspreads?
It's really, bedspreads are designed to go to the floor, but a coverlet is more just for a top of bed. It's just to cover the mattress part.
Yeah.
But if you're to be really practical, they're just a square, and they're both coverlets and bedspreads are both padded. They've got the insulation built into them. So they're not like there's no insert. So they're basically very similar. And because bedspreads are designed to go to the floor, that's what they're designed to. But that all mixes up when you've got a different height mattresses and beds. It'd be one thing if everything was the same, or the beds were the same, but they're not. So you've got this up and down. So to get a bedspread to suit directly to the floor, it's really got to be custom made to the bed, you could say. So you've always got to measure them. But to answer the question, a bedspread is designed to go to the floor, but a coverlet is more top of bed, cover the mattress, similar to a quilt or a quilt cover.
Yeah,
sort of.
We do have all of the sizing information in all of the product descriptions. So the best thing to do is just to go have a look on our website. There's a link that I've sent in the chat just a little bit before. That's a link to all our bedspreads and coverlets. Go and have a look at designs you like in the size bed that you have, and then just measure up your bed and see where everything falls. And it's, good to go from there.